the world in my hands cause I took it off your shoulders. Money on my feet, you know I...
Hello everybody, welcome back to the W Podcast. This is a podcast aimed for students or not who are looking to improve their English speaking or listening skills. We're going to provide you with some fun and entertainment content, just as like memes or whatever we want to talk about, but also educational stuff and tips for learning English. So, I'm your host Anoka, and today we have the guest, the myth, the legend, our CEO.
What's up? How's it going?
Yeah. So can you introduce yourself?
Hi. So this is the third episode, is
Yes.
it? Yeah. So my name is Timka. I am the CEO and founder of Winner's Course. However, I am stepping down from my role and passing it on to the next generation as of Monday. Well, actually, as of Monday this week, kind of. Because
It already happened.
gone. Yeah, I'm kind of gone already.
Yeah, dun dun dun. That was
ex-CEO.
Yeah, ex-CEO. Yeah. So So how does it feel? How are you doing lately? How does it feel to be relieved of all of that?
Yeah,
Stress,
good. I've just been chilling, mostly meeting people, getting prepared for my next job. I will not talk about that. So, 잘했남 and all that shit. So, yeah.
So that is a secret for your future. That's for you to know, right?
Yeah.
All right. So it's your third time here. You're basically a co-host now. I don't even know if I can call you guest anymore. So I had a few questions about just your whole journey with the company and stuff. That's what I wanted to talk about today.
All right.
So what made you start this company? I mean, how long have you been doing it? Can you just give a brief introduction on this whole company?
Right. So back in 2019, I came back from Hong Kong and I desperately needed money. So I started making content online. I didn't know. Well, actually, no. I didn't start the content because I wanted money. I just wanted to make videos. I mostly made personal development stuff. So I was talking a lot about like self-confidence, self-esteem, how to make the right goals for yourself, how to pursue those goals, etc. And then I made an English video and it went viral. So I was like, okay, well, I guess this is something that I could do because I do teach English and I have been teaching English for like 3 years at that point. So I made a video doing that. And then funny thing, there was this online course for around 1 million Tuguruks a month. And it only had 3 calls per month. And I was like, I think I really need this because the 2 people that were going to, sort of host the meetings, they were people I really admired and I really wanted to learn from them. And they were saying, okay, so join this thing called Arte Syndicate. It's like $495 or $400 a month, $395, I think.
Wow.
And I didn't have the 1 million Tuguruks. I didn't have any money. So I asked my mom, I took a loan. I took a small loan of 1 million Tuguruks. So I took a loan. I was like, Mom, I'm going to buy this course. And she was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why do you want to spend? Aren't you going to get scammed? And I was like, no. I trust these people. I think they can really help me. And she was like, okay. And I didn't have the money and I didn't know how to sort of paid back to her. And in one of the calls, they said, if you're afraid of doing that one thing, just do it because you won't have any regrets at the end. And also what's really going to happen, right? Your business will fail, but then you'll have like a lot of lessons that you've learned along the way. And that's when I realized, okay, I should start my online course. And I announced it, and the first course I had around 25 people. And that gave me a profit of around 2.5 million Tuguruks because one student was like 95K. And then as soon as I got the 2.5 mil, I paid back my mom and I was like, okay, here you go, here's the money. And then I kept on doing it for about a year.
So was it just you in the company? Was
it
just
no,
it
was actually Huslin. There were a couple of guys. One student actually said she wanted to work with me, and then I had her become a coach. That was actually she was actually no. Bilune was the first coach, who's my older brother, and then my second coach was her. Her name is Tirin Dolam. If you're listening, thank you. Yeah. So after about a year, I realized I needed a community because I didn't want to work online, and I always just felt like I was alone. Because even though I was meeting a few of the people that I was working with consistently, I say like 2 times a week, 3 times a week, I just felt like I wanted to be part of something rather than just like make a ton of money. So I decided to save up the money that I was making, and it was already COVID, so I had a little bit of money saved on the side, and invest in a language center, invest in an office and chairs and tables and everything. And I rented an office, and then that's sort of how everything went. And now we're here.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's like a start to every, movies where it's like, oh yeah, that sounds like an Apple story.
And like, I didn't start it. Yeah, I mean, I needed a community, but I also needed the money. But I needed the community more than I needed the money, because I could just do the online courses and make a decent amount of money per month to, do whatever. Not like buy everything. Obviously, I wasn't like filthy rich, but I had enough money saved up to sort of kickstart everything. And yeah. I just wanted to state that.
So you said you recruited like a few people when you first started. What did you know when you were recruiting them? Like, what was your criteria? Did you have any like standards?
I don't know. It was just like a vibe kind of thing, If I felt like the vibe was there, then I just wanted them to be part of the team. But if it wasn't, then it was just like, all right, whatever. And also, obviously, since they're becoming English teachers, I wanted them to have like a decent level of English. Yeah, that's it. It's just vibes and qualifications.
All right. So like if you had to choose when you started your whole journey, what do you think influenced you the most? Like, who do you think influenced you most? Do you have any icons that you looked up to that you would be like, oh, maybe if you're looking to do this, maybe watch them or watch their videos, or someone that helped you and educated you while you were leading?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first started, there wasn't really anyone who was doing those types of videos that I aspired to become, But there was this one guy I discovered along the way, and his name is Andy Frisella. And if you're a longtime listener of my podcast, which is now deleted, you know him, and you probably followed him. You've probably seen his stories and his posts. His podcast is called Real AF. I suggest you go listen to it. If you search Real AF or MFCEO, then you'll find him. I think he just taught me everything I knew about business, honestly. Everything I did here in the company was just whatever he taught. And then I just came here and implemented on the people. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't. And he's probably one of the best business guys that I've followed in the last 5 years.
Nice. All right. So how one thing that I'm personally curious about, how does it like, when do you feel that like, oh, I own a company and I have people under me and I have to sort of take care of them because I'm their employer? When does it feel like that? When did it hit you like at a certain point?
It does hit you at certain points, but it doesn't hit you as hard as you would think, because you're still there just doing a job, but in this case, your job is looking after these people and, making sure that they get paid, making sure that they get paid enough, making sure they know what to do, how to do it, making sure they learn the things that they're supposed to do, learn the things that they're supposed to learn throughout their journey in the company. So it's not more like, oh my God, fuck, I'm a business owner, or, oh wow, I'm so cool, or whatever. It's just like, every day you have a goal to work towards and you have a team to help you, and then you just do that. Yeah, you don't really think about anything else.
Spoken like a true business owner.
I don't know what anyone else would say, really, but yeah.
Yeah, I do really admire you, though. I think as an employee myself, I really do admire the work values that you implement on your employees. So I also wanted to ask, like, what are like your high priorities when you're leading a workplace? What do you say to your workers that you have to, like, oh my God, please remember this? like rules or values or whatever you have.
Don't piss on the toilet seat.
Very, very true. Important.
I think it all starts with small things. And this is definitely one of the things that Andy Frisella taught me is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you do one thing in a slacked off kind of way, then the bigger things will definitely start to crumble one by one. And the reason I'm so fucking anal about not pissing on the toilet seat or not cleaning up after yourself or, doing this or that is because if you're like this in here where this is kind of like your home, then how are you going to take care of yourself in front of other people in another new situation, at work, everything else. So yeah, it just starts with the small things. I think that's the priority. No matter how bad things get, you just focus on the small things, and then eventually the bigger things sort of show itself in the process. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
All right. So when you're doing that, when you're taking care of a lot of people and you're trying to do the best that you can for them and also for you, what was the biggest worry that you had, the biggest concern? Were you ever worried? Because I feel like I would be crazy, fucking going crazy over what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if I get people hate me for this shit? I feel like I'm the type to really overthink that. So did you have anything like that?
Sorry, what's the question again? The beginning part?
What was your biggest concern?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Oh man. Well, imagine you have a dog to take care of, or you have a car, you have a baby, or you have your phone, right? Don't drop it, right? Don't don't install viruses on your phone. You have to check whether it's charged, you have to check whether you have Wi-Fi access, or everything's working on the phone, the camera's fine, it's not laggy or anything. So there's a lot of maintenance work that goes into it. And I think the biggest concerns were, now that I think about it, the maintenance work is a day-to-day concern, but the bigger concern is where are we going and what is the next step? That's always frustrating to think about because sometimes you don't believe in the goal that you set yourself. And sometimes there are a lot of things that could happen in your life, for example, financial problems. And when those things occur, then it's hard to stay on track because you have to constantly remind yourself, oh man, I didn't make any money today and I have to pay my employees tomorrow. So what is the first thing that comes to a person's mind is how can I make money today so that I can pay them tomorrow? But as a business owner, your job obviously, of course, is to pay your employees, but at the same time is to stay true to your values, stay true to the fundamentals, because if you lose those things along the way in pursuit of cash or in pursuit of glory, in pursuit of pride and whatever else, then your company will definitely crumble and fall to the ground, because you as the CEO, as the founder of the company, as the head of the company, you have to be at the forefront of those values, gatekeeping everything to make sure that your employees also follow the same path that you are in. A few years ago, when I was making a podcast, I was talking about this, and I said not a lot of companies in Mongolia do this. Everyone's just focused on money because we're in this economy, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's still kind of true to this day. But we are seeing less and less of those companies and more culture-oriented companies, and I think that's definitely super cool. I know a few people who have companies like that, who are more focused on the culture rather than the money that the company brings. Yeah.
All right. So, surrounding yourself with people who have the same goal or the same values is probably really important in a company, right?
Yeah.
You want to thrive to the same thing, to the same goal. So how important really is it to surround yourself with friends or outside of the workplace? Does it matter too for you? Do you think that matters as well?
I thought it did. That's why I did a lot of networking, trying to find the right group of people to just get to know at least and share some ideas. I went to a bunch of networking events. I went out of my way to network more, to meet new people, even though I felt like in Mongolia it's just harder to network because everyone is just kind of reserved. And then, you know, following that, I was also just kind of stuck in my own head in a way. So I'm not blaming anyone for it. But I thought it was important. But then I realized, you know, if you don't find those people, then you can be that person. And then someone else can find you if they're looking for it, right? If they're looking for those kind of people. And that's what I meant about, you know, not staying the course, staying true to your values and your fundamentals. Because if you're that kind of person every single day, then you're always going to attract people who want to be in your circle. Or at least get to know you and, you know, meet you to share some ideas. So, yeah, I didn't feel like I found a lot of those people, maybe one or two. But one of my friends, he's also a business owner and he follows Andy Frisella just like me because I kind of like got him into it. And he and I definitely shared the same same values, I'd say. At least, if not the same values, at least the same sort of course or the track to start a business, to build it up from the ground, et cetera, et cetera. Honestly, a lot of people say networking is your like biggest asset, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't find the right people. It's like every time I go abroad, I become super, super extroverted. And then I start meeting people every single day. And when I can't find people who are like that, then I just say, okay, you know what? I give up. I don't want to keep on doing this. I'd rather just focus on myself and be that person, right?
Yeah.
And then I just start, you know, going out, doing stuff. And then people, you know, some people who follow me, they'll look at my stories and be like, hey, man, I saw you were doing that. You know, next time, let me know. And I'll be like, for sure. And then, you know, after that, we'll go as a pair or a trio. And then more people will be like, hey, you know, when are you doing this again? Because we definitely want to form a group and do this. So it's not about joining a community that shares your values. Sometimes it's about creating that community for other people who are seeking those kinds of values or those kinds of things. If you like hiking, then you go to a hiking event and you don't like the people who are organizing the event, then you can just talk to some of the people and be like, hey, you want to start our own little thing because I kind of vibe with you? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, why not? And if they vibe with you, they'll vibe with you. But if they don't, then you start your own thing.
Yeah.
Right? You create a Facebook page or create a Facebook event or, you know, Instagram page, whatever, and then say, hey, you know, I'm looking for these kinds of people who want to go with me on a hike. And it's going to be at 2 a.m. and then we're going to see the sunrise in the morning or whatever, right? And then some people who actually are inspired by that idea will join you, and then you'll now have a small little community. And then everyone's going to say, thank you, Anuka, for doing this. We really love you for that. Thank you so much. When's the next one? Right? And then they'll go and tell their friends about it.
Yeah.
They'll be like, hey, there's this really cool girl who organizes these events. Let's go to them. I'll introduce you. And there are a bunch of other people too. And they're all like sort of very similar to each other. Let's go. And the ones who don't like it, they'll just go off to the other event, or they can create their own thing. Yeah. Right? So as long as there's people, there will never be a lack of community, or, you know, there will never be a lack of people who share your values. You just have to go find them, create a safe space for them to come, or you can wait for them to do it, which usually kind of never happens, in my case at least. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. The thing about like, just making up your mind and doing that, it also, I think, especially teenagers nowadays, people my age, young adults, some people call them, I think going online and going really for it and being like, hey, do you want to do this with me? I think it somehow gives almost like a bit of this feeling of embarrassment. It shouldn't. Yeah. It's really negative, but I felt that before as well when I was applying to stuff, and when I was like, saying, I can do this, I want to do this, I felt like I was begging for them. Like you were desperate. Yeah, I felt desperate. I was like, please help me. And then I would feel so embarrassed, and I would be like, what would friends think? What will people that are the same age as me, that did the same thing as me, but doing better than I am, think about me? Right. They would they would take pity on me, and I would be like, oh my God, I shouldn't do this because I don't want to feel embarrassed. And I think that's why I didn't do a lot of things as well. And I really regret it. But I think that's how a lot of people feel too.
Yeah.
It's like,
I've felt that before, definitely. Many times. Many times. More than I can count.
Yeah.
It is embarrassing sometimes, but the first thing to do is really, really reflect on yourself. That's the first thing I did. Are you actually a cool person, or are you just like this lame, annoying, or fucking pathetic little loser kid, right? And you have to, the first thing is really to look into yourself.
Yeah.
And I think every single problem can be solved if people can look to themselves first and be brutally honest about what kind of problems that they are bringing to the table that other people don't like, and then try to fix those problems. The second thing to do is, if people are still not responding to your energy, then you just say, okay, you know what, I'll just... because the thing is, if people are judging you and they're like, oh my God, this Anoka girl is so annoying. Like, oh my God, she wants to go on this hiking thing. Fuck. If it was someone else, I would go, but since it's her, I don't want to go. If they're saying that, then is it really something that you need to pay attention to? And then if you do pay attention to that, what's it going to change? What's it going to do? Because at the end of the day, what the fuck was I going to say? Because, at the end of the day, every single person is going through their own problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just escape from it by judging other people and their problems. And they sort of compare it. And they're like, oh man, look at this girl. She's alone. She's lonely. She's pathetic. She's a loser. Da 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 da. And then they'll go home and then be sad. That's literally what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck this fucking pathetic girl. And then they'll go home and cry about it. Cry about whatever, right?
Yeah.
Their fucking dad left them, or they're jobless, they're friendless, they're ugly, whatever.
Yeah.
You worry about your problem, they will worry about their problem. If they're butting in and worrying about your problem, if they're not going to solve it for you, or if they're not going to solve it with you, then you just stay away from these people. That's it. So those are the 2 steps of overcoming these kinds of thoughts. Okay, so for example, now I'm going somewhere and then I'm going to start meeting new people. And I remember what happened in Turkey. I met like 100 people over the course of just like 5-6 days.
Oh, sounds draining.
Hi, my name is Temka. I'm from Mongolia. What's up, man? Where you from? Oh, really? That's cool. I like hiking. I like drinking. I like partying. What do you guys want to do? We can link up and like do whatever. And they'll be like, yeah, sure. Ha ha ha. And then, they'll be like, oh no, I'm busy. Da da da. And then, the more you do that, the more you think, man, is the problem with me? What's wrong with me? And then you take a hard look at yourself, and I realize, you know what? I'm just a normal guy. I don't think I showed any kind of malice towards these people. Why are they? There's no reason for them to just avoid me. So there's nothing I can do right now that if I don't know what the problem is, there's nothing I can do. Someone can tell me, but there's no one to tell me. So I'll just do my own things. And then I just focused more on that. I put more of my thought and energy into doing my own thing and not caring about I didn't even think about not caring about other people. And then the more I did that, the easier it was to just meet new people. And, I would come to work, and there were some people I didn't like at work who were just not vibing with me. They would follow me on Instagram because, we're coworkers and we kind of do that. And then I went on this like crazy trip to some random hiking area, and I took a bunch of cool pictures. I was posing, I was eating stuff, I packed lunch, asked people to take pictures of me, all this and that. And then I came to work the next day, and they're like, yo, Timka, I saw you were going on this hiking trip. Where'd you go? And I was like, oh, this place. And some of them were like, oh yeah, I know that place. That place is really cool. And some of them were like, oh, how do you get there? Like, show me the location. And some of them were like, okay, let me join you. Da da da. And now everyone, I realized that a lot of people just standing around me, talking to me, asking me about my little trip I did. And they were like, did you go alone? I was like, yeah. I mean, none of you guys wanted to join. So I was like, fuck it. So I just went alone. They were like, oh, really? That's pretty cool. And then some of them were like, hey, we're going for drinks. You want to join us? And they started inviting me on their little, journeys. So the less I cared about it and the more I just focused on me doing my own thing. I mean, it would have been fun to go on that trip with other people, getting to know them, talking to people. But there was no one. So why do I have to confine myself to the opinion of other people when I can just focus on myself, do the things that I want to do? And then later on down the road, when I have become that person that I really enjoy being with, that other people actually want to be with, then I can have that community, right? So, yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember what the question was, but there you go.
I forgot to. So that's great advice, honestly, because that was also one of my really, really big concerns. And the thing about being alone and doing your thing and being you, I think that was also really hard when I was a bit younger. I like saying that. When I was younger, that seemed, everyone who did something alone seemed like almost pathetic to me.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, you're watching the movies alone? You're eating lunch alone? Like, do you want me to help you? Or sometimes it's not something I'm proud of, but sometimes I would be like, oh, that loser. That thought would cross my mind sometimes. Right. But now I feel like anyone who's alone seems happier, seems more comfortable. So I think that's also why I'm a bit more comfortable and I don't get embarrassed that easily as well. Yeah, so I think, doing your own thing and really taking courage, because now when I look at someone doing something alone, I'm like, you're so cool. Like, wow, you just decided to do that and you do that? Because Same. Like, I'm like, wow, you're so impulsive. I like that. Because if I was me, nah.
If someone says like, oh, I went on a trip to China for like 5 days and no one wanted to join me, so I went alone, I'd be like, that is probably the coolest thing I've heard about this person right now. So far. So
you are,
kudos to that. Keep on doing it.
Right?
Next time, I'd be down to just accompany you, even if we don't vibe. We'll just do separate things, whatever. But
they definitely give off that charm. It's like, wow.
And also the second thing I noticed was, as a person, you will always have people you don't like, but I mean, if you get to know someone and you don't start like, and if you don't like them, then okay, whatever. That person is just fucked, right?
That person is done.
But like, don't trust your own judgments or biases or prejudices, because once you start doing those things and people come to you, someone you think you didn't like comes to you and says like, yeah, what's up, man? Da, da, da. And then you realize, oh, actually, this person is pretty cool. Stay open-minded. Don't just cut people off. Be nice to everyone. Talk to every single person the same way you would talk to your best friend. And then everything just, falls into place at the end, and it's all good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, like, do you have an ick for, like, people that you work with? Do you have an ick for that?
If they piss on the toilet seat. Hey,
like a personality ick.
I hope that's one thing that stays in this company after I leave.
I will see to it. I will see to it. Yeah. Okay. But for me, I feel like someone who belittles
other people. Of course.
Yeah, definitely. That's, I think, one of my biggest icks when I'm working, which is why I'm so comfortable right here, because there's none of that bullshit there. But I've definitely had people where it's like, oh, you should really respect me because I came here a month before you and I'm going to teach you everything I know. And you're nothing, basically.
Right.
And you're going to have to prove to me that you are worth working here.
Right.
There will be coworkers who act like that. And I'll be like, I got hired with my own experience. I did enough and I have every right to be here. But they would tell me to be like, oh, prove. And I'm like, what are we in the fucking Hunger Games? Why should I prove myself? And then that's when I realized, like, oh, it's not what they're saying. It's how they're saying it and how their attitude is towards me. And then I would think, oh, it's because, sometimes I would think like, oh, it's because I don't stand up for myself enough.
Right.
And maybe it's a me problem. Maybe I should stick up for myself, and maybe I should, say no, fuck that shit. But I never did, and I'm actually grateful that I never did.
Every single ick I had in my previous in the companies that I worked with previously. Oh my god, I specifically told everyone to not do it here. And anything you've heard me say don't do that, I've seen it somewhere else before, and that's why I keep saying it. For example, I remember I came back in 2019 and I actually got a job, and that's why I didn't do like the language center until like 2020. There was a company I worked at, and I would go around meeting everyone. I'd be like, hey man, nice to meet you. I'm Timka. Nice to meet you. Da da da. And I would try to like blend into other people's groups, but they would never accept me. And I thought that was an asshole move. And this one time, there was only this one person that I vibed with, and she was the art teacher. And I'm like, yo, what's up? Da da da. You know, you want to go get some drinks because I do want to like get some other people involved. Blah blah blah. And then she was like, no, sorry, we're going as a faculty. And I was like, okay. Are you though? Because I feel like there are other people who are gonna join that, and I kind of heard it from other people. And I was like trying to like put myself in there, and then she was just like, nah. And I was like, all right. I mean, it's not her fault because she was probably given instructions to not tell other people. Yeah. But you know, every time I stepped into that room, it was the liveliest room that I liked. But every time I stepped into that room, everyone just like went quiet. And I was like, man, what is wrong? What's wrong? I don't hate you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I've been working here like 2 months and I haven't talked to almost any one of you. Why would you assume that I'm not worth like talking to?
Yeah.
And then it was just awkward, and I didn't like that vibe. So I was like, all right, fuck it, whatever. So I stayed in my English faculty and I talked to my other English teachers, and we all vibed, which is good. But, you know, some of these companies that I worked in, I never really found the group that I wanted to be in. And I think that's a big problem for when you join a new company. You want to be part of a community in the company as well. You don't just want to be part of a company and then be like, hey, I'm part of a community. You actually want to be in the community. Yeah. But there are some companies where I just wasn't accepted, or I just didn't vibe with, and I was like, that sucks, because everywhere I go, I would like to make friends and meet new people, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's also, that reminded me too, like cliches, like groups of people I don't like. I really, really don't like. So what was I was thinking about this. What was I thinking? I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Do you think, because I think everyone, also the same age as me, young adults, want to start something. Nowadays, people really are talking about like, oh, I don't want to do a simple 9-to-5 job. Like, even if I did something normal, I want to do it by myself. I don't want to work under anyone. You know, I'm no one's bitch. I'm my own boss. It's a lot of that talk outside right now. Everyone graduating right now, everyone's probably thinking that like, oh, I'm going to get my degree and I'm going to open my own stuff.
Right.
And what do you have to say about that? Like, do you think you need to work under someone to make something out of yourself, or do you think you can just wing it and do it?
Yeah, I think you need the experience first. If you so there's a saying: if you're not a good follower, you're not going to be a good leader.
Oh. And
you need to learn to follow first. You need to know what is an ideal follower, and you need to be that person to learn what it takes to work under someone, to take all the stress, to handle everything all at the same time. And then you will understand what it's like to be a leader, because now you have a bunch of other people who are just like you, right? In your situation a few months back, but just today. And that, I think that's one of the ways that you can relate to your employees, because if I've never worked under someone, I wouldn't be able to tell you like, hey, don't piss on the toilet seat.
Yeah.
Right. Or like, hey, like if a new person comes in, make sure to talk to them, make sure to socialize, make sure to integrate them into your communities, So I wouldn't learn all these things without having a job.
Yeah.
Working under someone. And I was like that too. I remember I used to, wash dishes and clean cars and wait tables and shit like that, and I fucking hated it. I hated it. I hated it because my bosses were terrible. And maybe if my boss was a pretty cool guy or girl, then I would have stayed there for a couple months. So I think that's just what it is. You have to learn to follow before you can lead.
Yeah. Great saying. How do you feel now that you know what it feels like to be a leader? How do you feel like? Do you feel you've changed? Do you feel it affected you mentally or personally?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mentally more or personally more or like physically? I don't know.
What's the difference between mentally and personally?
Like personality wise or like your mental health state, your mental state. You think you got stronger or like you think you got weaker?
I do understand the perspective of business owners more, I'd say. But it's a whole journey to open up a business and be the CEO and be responsible for 10 to 20 people. So it's a whole journey, and you just have to go through every single one of them to understand, to learn all these things. Mentally, personally, physically, everything changed, obviously, from when I was how old was I? 23 years old. So it's a whole nother podcast if we want to talk about it.
It's for next time when you're back here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about leaving this whole whole company to the next generation? What are your feelings right now?
Good. I'd say.
Good.
Yeah. I'm not worried.
You're not worried.
I think that's the thing.
So that feels good.
Yeah, exactly. I trust the people I left it to, and I think they trust me. And yeah, I don't think there's really much to say here because it's been something that's been on my mind for the past like 4 or 5 months, and now that it's finally here, it's just like, okay, done.
Time's up.
Yeah, time's up. I don't want to keep on thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because if you keep on thinking about it, you're always living in the past, and I don't want to live in my past. I want to live in the now or the future, and that's where my focus is more at, I'd say. If something is done, then it's done. Is there a way for you to sort of restore it? Is there a way for you to save it? Is there a way for you to fix the problem that you made before? Okay, then go do it. But if it's done, it's done. You don't have to think about it. The more you think about it, you just become a loser. You know those people who peaked in high school, right? I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a guy who peaked when I was 27, 26 years old. I want to be the guy who's always peaking.
Always
That's
peaking.
a weird sentence, but
You're always peaking.
yeah.
I get it. I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Climb higher peaks, let's say. I want to be the guy who climbs higher peaks. But I think the understanding of what a peak is also different because you can... Maybe my career peak was definitely when I was 27, 26 right now, right?
Yeah.
And maybe when I'm 70 years old, someone asks me, what was the peak point of your career? I'll be like 26, 27. That's fine with me because I can always peak in other areas of my life. My physical state, maybe I can get a 6-pack, or my mental state, maybe I can be the happiest I've ever been when I was 60 years old, or my emotional state, or my mental state, what if I'm not negative anymore, right? These are all different peaks that other people should strive to achieve, I'd say. And doing it all at the same time when you're 25, 26 is impossible. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And because you see these 60-year-old, 70-year-old billionaires in America, and you ask them like, oh, what's your biggest regret? Or if you were 30, what would you do differently? And they'd be like, well, I'd be happier. I'd focus on my family more. I'd focus on the connections and the relationships. They can say that because they already made the money. And you know that after they made the money, that's what they focused on next. They focused on the family and the friends and the relationships and the people and the connections. They didn't keep on focusing on their money. They didn't keep on trying to make $1 trillion. They stopped where they thought, okay, this is it. I'm done. I mean, I guess when you're a billionaire, it's really the peakest peak that you could ever achieve. But at the same time, for some people, they're happy with just making a decent amount of money, doing 9 to 5, but they're peaking with their family, right?
Yeah.
That's such a weird sentence.
Maybe.
But they're at the peak of their lives in terms of their connections and their relationships. Maybe they're super healthy, right? They're doing 9 to 5, but they have a fucking dog and they're just like
Happy.
climbing mountains and shit, or they're like traveling twice a year, going to these really exotic places, doing like backpacking trips. And those are the peaks for them in their lives. And so what the fuck was the question? So now I'm just focused on the now.
That is a great way.
Yeah. What's the next thing? I've done a lot. Now, if I feel like I want to come back and focus more on my career, then I'll obviously try to top what I've done so far. But if I just want to focus on my family or my friends or relationships or my physical health or my mental health, then I'll just do that. And that will make me happy. And whatever anyone else says, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that great, the peak. Whoa. Okay. So,
That's what she said. Thank you for that peak. Whoa.
All right, back to the topic. I was actually gonna ask you about what was the biggest regret you had while starting this up, but because I feel like a lot of people are scared to fail and they're scared to disappoint, so they never really start, and they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna regret this. Like I'm gonna regret this even if I do this or not. So maybe doing this is more risk, so I'm not gonna do it. And the regret is just like so big because I'm like that too. I'm like, I don't want to regret anything. So I would rather play it safe than being like, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm going to do it. So do you have any like things that you would have done differently?
If you asked me that like 3 years ago, I would say no. Because I used to always think I will live a life with no regrets. And whatever mistake I make, I'll just treat it as a lesson learned and then not look back and just, I cringe sometimes at night being like, oh, what the fuck did I do that? But, I used to focus a lot on not having regrets or not even thinking about things as regrets. But I think now that I look back on the past 5 years, we are talking about the past 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I do have a lot of regrets, and I wish I could go back and change them, but I can't. So I've sort of accepted that I have risks and accepted that I have regrets and accepted that I can't do anything about it. So I think this is probably the healthiest way to look at it. Just me thinking in my own head. I don't know what anyone else would say. Someone older or wiser maybe will say something different. But this is the healthiest way to look at it. For example, I used to get angry a lot. Though there were a lot of times when I would get angry because I just had a bad morning or something, or I had a fight in my relationship, or maybe I was just fat, like fat angry dude walking around. Just yelling at people, my mental or physical or emotional, something was going wrong. And I just yelled at people because it was just I just woke up on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And those were the times where I definitely was like, oh man, I feel so bad for doing it. But the more I think about those things, the more I see the other side of the coin, which is because I did all those things, these people said those things to me. And because these people said those things to me, I came to this understanding and this realization about myself and how I should interact with other people. And it's not just about being angry. There's so many other mistakes I've made in the past, trying to elevate the company, physical things, So it's just like, okay, so now I understand what to do next, right? If, let's say, I start another company, then I probably won't do it like this one. I'll probably do it better because I've learned from my mistakes, and now this 5-year experience will now help me, start the next one if I ever decide to do it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all the great talks. I have one last question. How excited are you for your next chapter?
Pretty excited. I was very neutral or indifferent to it for a while. But then, sometimes throughout the day, I'll just think about it and then not be as excited. And then when I actually start, when I sit down and I think about it and I plan for it, I Google stuff and I search stuff online. I'm like, yeah, this might actually be like a really good point in my life. And I'm very, very excited and happy about it because I feel like the next 1 to 2 years is definitely going to be a game changer in my life. And I feel like I'm just going to become a much, much, much better person than I was before. And I feel like in the next 1 to 2 years, I don't know if I will, but I feel like I might become the person that I wanted to be ever since I was a kid. And I'm just sort of focusing more on that. And I'm just setting goals. This is the type of person I want to be. This is the type of these are the type of things I want to do. These are the type of things that I want to learn. And obviously after that, there will be so much more to learn as well. But I'm definitely not scared from it or scared of it. I'm just like, yeah, bring it on, because I feel like I'm ready to move on, and I'm finally ready to let go of the person I was before and introduce the new person that I will be. Right? So yeah, hopefully things turn out the way I describe it. If it doesn't, then what am I gonna do? There's nothing I can do about it. But I will try my best to just take as many take action on what I'm saying right now. Yeah.
All right. I think I can talk for everyone in this company when I say you've been a great leader for this company. I'm sure, and I'm super thankful and grateful for all the things that I learned from you and all the values that you said to us and stuff. And really excited for you, every one of us. Really excited and happy for you. Listening to that really made me feel wow. Yeah, super excited for you. So anything you want to say to the people who are watching? You're probably not going to see them for a very long time. Quite some time.
Yeah, you're probably not going to see me for a very long time as well, because I deleted my accounts. And I'm going to keep on deleting accounts, actually, one by one.
Wow. So he's going to be...
I'll be dead.
Disappearing one by one. Just... All right. Do you have anything you want to say? Just,
in 2 years, I'll be dead. That's it.
Just
no, nothing. No, there's nothing to say. I think I've said everything I wanted to say.
All right. Also, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast.
All right. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
Or not soon. Just like some after time. I'll invite you again.
You too.
You'll be the
Thank
guest.
you.
W do for a win.